Good morning. Hanju asked me to do the story, and because I want everyone to see the illustrations of this book, I'm not going to do it with bringing young people up, but this is truly a story for all ages. Because it makes me think of the theme, well, just about noticing and the assumptions we make about people when we see them, and that new kid in your class, whether they're going to be your friend or not, you might decide right away at the first lunch, or the new person in your office, you might decide right away if that's your kind of person or not. So we're going to read Milo Imagines the World. The words are by Matt de la Pena, and the pictures are by Christian Robinson. And there we are, perfect with the title page. What begins as a slow, distant glow grows and grows into a tired train that clatters down the tracks. A cool rush of wind quiets into a screech of steel, and when the doors slide open, Milo slips aboard. The train bucks back into motion as he and his sister squeeze onto bench seats. The whiskered man beside Milo has a face of concentration. A businessman has a blank, lonely face. The wedding-dressed woman near the far door has a face made out of light, while the dog peeking out of her handbag has no face at all, just a long, lolling tongue. These monthly Sunday subway rides are never ending, and as usual, Milo is a shook-up soda. Excitement stacked on top of worry, on top of confusion, on top of love. To keep himself from bursting, he studies the faces around him and makes pictures of their lives. At a downtown local stop, the whiskered man folds up his crossword and hurries off the train. Milo imagines him trudging through brown mounds of slush. It's a 5-flight climb to his cluttered apartment where he is greeted by mewling cats and burrowing rats. Parakeets tweet songs of longing as the man sips tepid soup, hunched over a game of solitaire. Late that night, the door to the parakeet cage mysteriously falls open and the cats gather on the cold sill to watch the birds fly free above the city. Milo tugs his sister's sleeve and holds up his picture, but even when she turns to look, he can tell she doesn't see. She's a shook-up soda, too. A boy in a suit boards the train with his dad. His hair is a perfect part, and there's not a single scuff on his bright white Nikes. Milo imagines the clop, clop, clop of the horse-drawn carriage that will carry him to his castle. Imagines the clink, clink, clink of the guards slowly lowering the drawbridge. Across the human-made moat, the boy is met by a butler, 2 maids, and a gourmet chef offering crust-free sandwich squares. Milo flips to a fresh page at a bustling Midtown stop. When the wedding-dressed woman strides off the train, a band of street performers launches into Here Comes the Bride, and everyone on the platform stops and cheers. Milo imagines the grand cathedral ceremony where the couple will be pronounced husband and wife. Imagines the groom whisking his new bride to an awaiting hot air balloon where the pilot loads them in with blankets and blasts the heat. And up, up they go, hand in hand beyond the concrete whales of the city into the infinite blue. Milo holds up this picture too, but his sister shoos him away. Can't you see I'm playing my game? He watches her thumbs bang around her smudged screen, then turns back to the boy in the suit. They lock eyes for a few long seconds, and suddenly it feels like the walls are closing in around Milo. The spell is broken when a crew of breakers bounds onto the train announcing, "Y'all ready for the show?" Several curious faces look up as the beat drops, and now the girls are walking up walls. They're whirling around poles, they're backflipping over shopping bags. When the train pulls into the next stop, they collect a few dollars and scramble for another car. Milo imagines them going from train to train, doing their act as everyone watches. But even after the performances are over, faces still follow their every move. When they walk down the electronics aisle at the department store, when they cross into the fancy neighborhood. Milo doesn't really like this picture, so he puts away his pad and turns to his reflection in the window. What do people imagine about his face? Can they see him reciting his volcano poem to the class? Can they hear his mom's soothing voice reading him a bedtime book over the phone? Can they smell the chili colorado bubbling in a pot in his auntie's apartment near the cemetery? Butterflies flood Milo's stomach when it's finally their stop. He follows his sister onto the cold station platform and up the stairs. Above ground, he's surprised to see the boy in the suit a few paces ahead. He's even more surprised when the boy joins the long line to pass through the metal detector. Milo's sister suddenly bends to give him a hug. "I didn't mean to snap at you," she says. She takes his hand, adding, "Have your picture ready?" He nods, feeling the warmth of her fingers. As they slowly shuffle forward, Milo studies the boy in the suit, his dad rubbing his thin shoulders, and a thought occurs to him. Maybe you can't really know anyone just by looking at their face. Milo tries to reimagine all the pictures he made on the train. Maybe he could have done it like this instead. Or this, or this. Milo's chest fills with excitement when he spots his mom through the crowd. His sister rushes to give her a hug before pulling Milo in too, and it's in this tight tangle of familiar arms that he feels most alive. When they separate, Milo flips through his pad until he finds the right picture. "I made this for you," he says, holding it up, and he watches for the smile he hopes will spread across his mom's face. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jen Gill, and I'm the Connections Coordinator at UUFRC. As such, I have the unique privilege of bringing people into our amazing community as members. What a joy that is, and what a wonderful honor each of you bestow on us with your decision. Thanks. Oh, really? I feel like I'm such a loudmouth usually. Today, we welcome 7 new members who you will get to know very briefly as they come up to the chancel and in the new member bio poster in the hallway outside the office, but also by talking to them, learning about their lives, exchanging stories, and of course, becoming friends. There's very little in life more important than connection, says the Connections Coordinator, and UUFRC offers this in abundance. I'd like to introduce our UUFRC Board President, Jason Laderman-Jones, to talk to us about our community and the importance of belonging in this unique way. Jason.
Thanks, Jen.
Welcome.
As President of the Board of Trustees, I am delighted to welcome you home. You have found your home here, and we are so glad you did. Whatever brought you here, we are thankful. Whatever brought you to sign the membership book today, we are truly grateful. This congregation is guided by our Unitarian Universalist values of justice, equity, generosity, pluralism, transformation, and interdependence, and we are centered in love. We are supported by the spiritual leadership of our amazing Reverend Brian, even in his absence, guided by the elected Board of Trustees, which you can now be a part of, and energized by the passion and commitment of this community, which you are formally joining today. As you take this meaningful step in covenant with us, you enter into the practice of promise to one another, to the Spirit, and to the wider world. Covenant is what binds Unitarian Universalists together. It calls us to stay connected, to choose relationship, and to live out the sacred core and by the values of our creedless faith. We welcome you as you are, and we thank you for welcoming us as we are. Those of us gathered today, both in person and on Zoom, are essential to the life of UUFRC. And now, the 7 of you, Karen, Katie, Christine, Laura, Macarena, Rachel, and Sayer, are joining us as voting members, future leaders, and caretakers of this community. We need you not because we need more work done, though we do, or more money raised, and that can't hurt, but because we value you, your presence, your insights, and your voice. This community is stronger because you are a part of it. Those who signed the book before you and those who will sign it after you, thank you for entering into this covenant with us. Welcome home. This is the point in the ceremony that our minister would provide reverential words and spiritual enlightenment. Reverend Brian is currently recharging this spirituality on a sabbatical until August. I forgot my step stool, and I haven't perfected my Scottish accent, so I'll instead provide a blessing from the Jewish tradition. The Shechechianu is recited to express gratitude for new and special experiences. It acknowledges the joy of life and the moments that bring pleasure or benefit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season. Thank you.
Please join me now in the spirit of prayer. We pray here to each other, reaching out to welcome all members, new and old. We have many differences, but here we pledge to flow together in this journey of our lives. I invite you to close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out, slowly and gently. Bring quiet into your mind. Gently bring stillness to your thoughts, to that sometimes racing internal monologue. Prepare yourself to find a stillness, to hear a still small voice. Feel the people beside you. Feel the support of the pledge we have given today. As drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea. So are we drawn together. So are we fortunate to find each other. So are we bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. Individually, we are drops, but together, drops of water can wash down mountains and cut mighty canyons. Now let us have a minute of silence and listen with our hearts to the sea of love around us.
I'm here to talk a little bit about my spiritual journey and how Unitarian Universalism, and specifically this congregation, has helped shape that and support that. My lifelong spiritual journey started when I was a young child in a comfortable and reasonable Presbyterian church. It was a positive experience, and my main takeaway was that God loved me. In college, I started to wish I was Catholic because I was envious of the rituals. So I joined a Lutheran church, which offered weekly communion. I did have doubts along the way, and as a young adult asked the minister from my childhood, "Why be a Christian?" His answer was, "To be the person God intended you to be." And that made sense to me. But when I joined the Peace Corps after college, my faith was turned upside down. In a remote area of Papua New Guinea, I taught high school science at a boarding school run by Anglican missionaries. Distraught with homesickness, I went to the Mission Station Church to find comfort. But it didn't feel like church at all, and I didn't find comfort. My soul was in the lost and found. My second year in the Peace Corps, I moved to a mission school run by Catholic nuns. I felt more at home in this church, but sadly, they wouldn't let me take communion because I wasn't Catholic. Upon my return home to the U.S., my father suggested that I try Unitarian Universalism because he said, there you can believe whatever you want. So when I moved across the country, got my first full-time job here in the U.S. and my first apartment, that's what I did. The members of a tiny little UU fellowship in Bakersfield, California, took me into their fold, and it soon felt like home. Through my late 20s, this fellowship helped shape the adult I became. Most of my 30s were spent in veterinary school and postgraduate training in different locations, and also building a relationship with my now husband, Jason. I wasn't involved in a UU congregation during most of that time, unfortunately, but I did return a few years later after Jason and I were married. Soon after we got married, Jason and I applied to become foster to adopt parents. And we were required to each complete a survey designed to identify strengths and weaknesses in our relationship. We did well overall, but scored lowest in something along the lines of spiritual alignment. Our religious backgrounds were different. Jason had grown up in Reform Judaism, and we hadn't addressed that difference. So, in preparation for becoming parents, we started attending a Unitarian Universalist congregation outside Sacramento. Again, a UU church soon felt like home, and when Sebastian joined our family as a foster child several months later, it became his second home too. Jason and I leaned heavily on that community as we navigated the painful uncertainties and frustrating challenges of foster care. When we didn't feel strong, they helped us carry on. When Sebastian was officially adopted almost 2.5 years later, the congregation committed to continue nurturing, respecting, and holding Sebastian safe at a child dedication service. In 2019, our family moved from the Sacramento area to Redwood City. In order to fill the void from leaving our previous congregation, we joined UUFRC almost immediately after we moved. It took a while for UUFRC to feel like our new spiritual home, especially with the pandemic, but it absolutely feels that way now. But how exactly have these congregations supported my spiritual path? In my 20s, my UU congregation promoted my exploration of non-Christian religious paths, such as Wicca and Buddhism. After I became a foster and adoptive parent, clearly the most difficult endeavor of my life, Unitarian Universalism has facilitated my gradual return to the comforting Christian faith of my childhood. Somehow, being surrounded mostly by mostly agnostics and atheists seems to strengthen rather than weaken my belief in God. In fact, I sometimes feel like an evangelist up here, wanting to convince all of you to believe in a higher power that holds us all in love. As the UU hymn we sang earlier states, God's love embraces the whole human race. But please rest assured that my reason for belonging to this congregation is not so that I can convert all of you to Christianity. I remain most comfortable here in a UU congregation with its values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, all centered on love. It's a place where compassion is awakened, and we ask one another to listen carefully to the hurts of our neighbors, to the many voices calling for justice, and to the quiet cry of the earth itself and all the species we share it with. With the promises we make to one another, grounded in our shared values, we are reminded that love is the clearest expression of what is holy. Our tradition's deep social consciousness invites us not only to hear voices of suffering, but to respond, working, striving, and caring together to make a better world. Our beloved community seeks transformation through care, each of us contributing in our own way, and I am honored and grateful to be part of this remarkable congregation.
As we welcome new members in, I wanted to talk, and Barbie shared a terrific story about her and Jason's support for each other. And how can we, with our differing beliefs, support each other, all of us? And I thought of a few principles that we can begin with. So the first being just human connection comes first. We've all connect to each other as people before we can speak about God or whatever else we believe in, or lack of God, and so forth. But we need that piece of connection there. 2 is keep an open mind. 3 is ask questions of yourself and others. And 4 is be honest without being judgmental. Now, the connection part, we're all doing now. We can, and afterwards in the social hall. It's time consuming, but it's fun, it's easy. I think we've all enjoyed our other's company, and we enjoy the projects that we're involved in. And that's very positive. The second, keep an open mind, is about our thoughts going in as we dive into deeper conversations with each other. As we often think of ourselves positively as being open-minded. We're so enlightened and open-minded, but most of us have some beliefs that are comforting. That we're closed about. And that's okay. We have things that are comforting and important to our identity, and we don't have to let go of those to be part of, to connect with other people and to support them. But we have to hold them a little more loosely as we speak. And the third is to ask questions. Questions are, in principle, easy as a way to show interest and give space to the other person. And spirituality is much more about questions than answers. But the best questions are the ones that we ask ourselves, not just about what do you believe, but what do I believe? And these are open questions that we can share and not rather than just hearing from the other person. And being honest without being judgmental is really the hardest. Sincere communication requires honesty. We cannot speak to other people without bringing that honesty, without opening up ourselves. But it's easy to be judgmental when you're being honest. Just by our tone or our posture, we can convey judgment that shuts someone down who wants to open up. It can make someone terribly vulnerable to speak about true spiritual beliefs, because these are difficult things that we've all had to face, and they come out of grief, out of deep belonging about things that we don't even understand, the mysteries. Now, my wife Blythe has many more of what she calls woo-woo beliefs than me. For example, she feels the presence of spirits, like her late mother, who I have come close to feeling just because she has touched so many. And it took a little while in our relationship for her to open up about that. And I didn't want simply to tolerate this or accept it. I wanted to be supportive and for her to feel free in spirit to explore what she believes. And we had a strong relationship that we built on, but the next step was keeping an open mind. And as a scientist, I've sometimes been dismissive of what I would call pseudoscience, but that's not the same thing as any spirituality. I further know that scientists have their own biases. I remember being once struck when I was at Fermilab and I was talking to a fellow physicist who said, "I'm a scientist, of course I don't believe in aliens." And I was like, I was struck by the assumptions in that. It's not, there's no foundational principle of science that aliens can exist, right? But it has to do with identity of what we're how the people he identifies with more than the principles. So it's an attitude, and so I've tried to open up my mind, and I've failed at times. And she reminded me last night that there was a time when she heard something, and I said, I don't want to talk about that now. And that was, and even though I meant I don't want to talk about that now, what she heard was, that's not important to me, right? That it's easy to shut down that sort of belief. But I try again. Luckily, I live with her, so there are many opportunities. So it's an opening up that I will try with again and again, and I can't say that I know what the spirits are, what I feel, and certainly after the death of my mother, I feel like I came close. I had my doubts. I haven't felt what she has felt, but I feel like I can support her and give all of my support for her spiritual journey, and maybe take a few steps of my own.